Hello, I'm Michelle Rowan, President and CEO of Franchise Business Review, and we have worked with over 1,200 franchise systems in the last 18 years. We get feedback from franchisees to help the corporate teams better understand what their franchisees think they're doing well and where there are opportunities to improve to help franchisees continue to thrive in their businesses. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with some folks from Alphagraphics. We're going to discuss programs, support, and benefits that they offer that make Alphagraphics exceptional. So first, I have Bill McPherson, Vice President of Retail Network Development. And I went back and looked, and I think, Bill, we actually started working together at past companies back in 2005. So we've known each other for a while. Bill joined Alphagraphics in late 2018. He has been in the franchise leadership positions at different brands for 29 years. He's led business to business, retail, and in-home senior care models. Currently, he's leading the development of two brands, Alphagraphics and PostNet International. Both are owned by MBE Worldwide, based out of Milan, Italy. And over his career, he's managed franchise development, real estate, construction, and FDD development and management. That's a lot. Thanks for being here today, Bill.
I'm excited to be here and see you again. Thank you.
Yeah, and I was going to say, and so Bill works with people that are coming on board as new owners, so he's going to have perspective about that process. And then joining us is also a franchisee from the Alphagraphics network, Sherry Perry. She's one of the longest tenured owners in the system, and along with her husband, Tony, she joined Alphagraphics in 1985. She's part of their National Leadership Council and provides invaluable input and direction to the Alphagraphics leadership team. She owns two centers in Dallas, Texas, and runs them with her son, Spencer. And last year, her business was ranked number 39 in What They Think's list of the top 100 small commercial printers in the US. So she's seen all aspects of owning it. And I have so many questions for you, which if we don't get today, I just love the idea of the expansion to the second location, working with your family. There's so much here. So thank you so much for joining us today, Sherry.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So we're excited to talk to you guys. So Alphagraphics is a 2023 award winner as one of the top 200 franchises. We put up that list each year, and it's based on the feedback we get directly from franchise owners. So it's really, really a big deal. And also was named a top recession-proof franchise with us. So the company has a 50-year history of success as a business-to-business model, providing full-service marketing solutions to help other businesses grow. So Bill, I'm going to start with you and have you tell us a little bit more about the history and the business model of Alphagraphics.
Well, I appreciate it, and thanks again for having us. We've, like you said, the Alphagraphics brand has been around about 52 years. And we've been a consistent leader in print, sign, marketing solutions for that time. In fact, we're coming off a record year in 2022. We had system-wide sales of over $307 million, and our average gross sales per location was about $1.3 million, which is unprecedented and far exceeds anybody else in this space. And it's pretty exciting. Not only are we back to pre-pandemic levels, 2019, we've exceeded it. So I know I want to talk a little bit today, hopefully, about how we did that through the pandemic.
Yeah, well, and let's talk about that now, because you were on the top recession-proof list. So tell us, I'm assuming you guys were an essential business. So tell us what that looked like during the pandemic, and then how you were able to rebound and see even higher. What's changed? Why are people using you guys more?
Well, I think first, we had to pivot as an organization, both headquarters and our franchisees in all areas, marketing, learning development, operations, technology, because the landscape changed. And I know Sherry just, had a remarkable success during that time as well. And I think also for us collaborating with our National Leadership Council even more frequently during that time to make sure that we heard what our franchisees were facing and how we could support them. But the fact is, we know that the demand for print, sign, marketing solutions is always there. It just changes. And so we had to make sure that we were proactive thought leaders. I give a lot of credit to our network of owners like Sherry and the leadership team at HQ. Plus, we have the strength of being a part of a global brand. You mentioned MBE, so we're part of a global brand, and that provides for a tremendous network of support.
That's awesome. And we actually, our data showed that satisfaction from franchise owners did increase during COVID. And I do think it was twofold in that franchisors really focused on what do our business owners need to stay open, to stay safe. And they helped them kind of navigate a very confusing time as far as, can we open? What's safe? What's not? What do we get for credits? All of that was really, I think, helped by the franchisor, but also the amazing support you get from other franchise owners that are in the same business as you. So having that kind of perspective and that community around you that's going through the same thing as you. So Sherry, I want to go to you and have you talk a little bit about that. Also, too, for people that don't know, so the national, I'm sorry, you guys call it the National Leadership Committee?
Counsel,
Okay.
yeah.
So it's an advisory board. So some franchise owners are more meeting more frequently with the corporate team and kind of presenting, being the voice of the network. So for people that don't know what that is, so it is a big time commitment, and it's great when you see owners raise their hand to do that. But Sherry, tell us a little bit about your experience of working with the whole network during the pandemic, and then a little bit about what you guys do on that council. And I think you're muted.
Thank you. It's a body of franchise owners. We are mostly elected by our peers to be on the council. And then there are a few that are at large and placed on the council as well. And basically, we just bring ideas, feedback from our constituents, basically our fellow owners, to HQ. We discuss those issues, and then we have resolutions that we take back into the network.
I love it. And so what is your involvement with people that are coming into the network, exploring Alphagraphics, or once they come into the network? What kind of work are you doing with those candidates?
So not really anything per se related to the NLC, but I have frequent candidates come to our center, do a tour, and then basically I just sit and I talk with them and I answer their questions, because they all have questions about what it's like to be an owner, what the franchisor is like, things like that. And then I just try to be really honest with them about what the business is like.
Yeah. That's great. So, because we're all about setting really great expectations of what it's like to run your business. So I'm sure that people are still asking the question about what was it like during COVID? How did the franchisor support you? So what was that like running your business through that, and how the team or your fellow franchisees helped you kind of navigate through all of that?
So I will say that we felt like ballerinas. We were pivoting daily to try to figure out what we could produce and sell that day that customers would purchase. And AG actually played a huge part during COVID for us. We had a nationwide client who needed social distancing signage and had to set up their own website so that all their locations across the country could order distancing signage from us. And basically, we were overwhelmed with the volume of work that we got in such a short period of time. Basically a year's worth of work in 1 month. And corporate stepped in. They had support for us, and they really helped us meet the client's deadlines as well as just fulfill all the orders. So they were pivotal for us during that time. But other things that corporate did outside of just specifically for our location, they learning and development put out so many new classes, new training sessions, things that we could do during downtime with our staff to keep them sharp, to keep them engaged during this time. And I think that was really helpful to the network as a whole. And then because we couldn't meet in person for conference in 2020 and everything was virtual, a lot of staff members, both in my center and across the network, were able to attend conference virtually where they wouldn't have been able to go perhaps in person. So I think they got more of a conference experience that year than maybe in the past. And I think corporate just stepped up and did as much as they could do, listening to us through the NLC, but they just did as much as they possibly could do to keep us all afloat until things, got better for all centers across the network. And we were essential, so we were open the entire time. I know there were other centers in other parts of the country who maybe were not able to be open the whole time. And then I think one other thing that corporate did up to that point was they've always tried to expand our offerings. And so we've been in signage now for, 10 plus years, although we offered signage 20 years ago because we've always said yes to our clients. By doing that, we were in a position where we could take on this large project, meet the customer's needs, and really build our business through COVID, which is something that a lot of companies were not able to do. So Alphagraphics prepared us, and then they helped us through it.
Yes, I love it. Bill, do you have anything else to add just about kind of how you supported them through that very strange time that we all kind of went through, a little hazy?
Yeah, it's funny. We bring candidates into Discovery Day sometimes, and so many times we say, "What happened to the last 2 or 3 years?" Like it just like it was weird, right?
Yeah.
But first of all, I want to thank Sherry. She's always very gracious with her time with new candidates, whether they're visiting her center or on the phone. And I believe, Sherry, to your point, you actually had a record month during COVID in your entire history, which is just unbelievable. I mean, and so, to Sherry's point, many of our owners had to shift what they were offering customers. And then we had to look, how do we support that?
Yeah.
Because the needs were a little bit different, a little bit more consumer needs than maybe business to business during that time. But, it's about that trusted relationship and listening to the franchisees.
Yeah. And I was going to say, and that shows up in the data that we collected. So you guys have scored a 74 overall, which puts you in that top 200 we've already discussed. But looking at some of the data points that really stuck out to me, 91% of franchisees enjoy operating their business as an Alphagraphics franchise owner. 91% are also likely to recommend the brand to others. And 89% of franchisees feel supportive of each other or feel supported by each other. So, I mean, that's really that's the power of a franchise network. If you find the brand that's right for you and the team and the franchisees, it can really accelerate that business because you have owners that have gone through the same challenges. They've done this before. So you have that network to go to if you have a Sherry that's willing to pick up the phone and kind of help you through it. So that's awesome. Bill, anything else that you want to share as far as why you think those numbers come out so well? Why do people enjoy doing what they're doing when they are working so hard, when they were an essential business?
Yeah, I think, like you said, the trust, and Sherry mentioned it too, the trust between the franchisee and HQ, the franchisor, that's extremely important. I think we've become very strong in that area. It's a key focus in our system, and that comes from clear communication and collaboration within the network, but truly valuing the input from owners like Sherry and having a great process using Franchise Business Review to get that input, because we always have to continue to evolve the system, right? You can't be stagnant. There's always room for improvement. And our best ideas come from owners like Sherry. And so we need that input.
Yeah, that's great. So let's talk about what challenges do you see going forward for franchisees? And my guess is it's the same in your network for every business owner. So I'm going to ask you, Bill, what's the number one challenge for franchise owners right now?
Well, Sherry may have a different answer, but I think whether it's our system or any other small business owner, I think two things: staffing and funding. Staffing continues to be a challenge for all small business owners. And so we want to make sure we have a head of a people department here that works very hard to try to make sure that Alphagraphics is an employer of choice. So we get the word out there. So it helps us with our recruiting. We provide recruiting and hiring tools to our franchisees to help them. And then I think on the funding side, with the SBA and the requirements and interest rates continuing to creep up, we need to make sure that we continue to leverage our preferred lending partners, but also look at ways maybe internally that we can help that process with kind of a co-sponsored lending program through Alphagraphics. One of the things we're focusing on is maybe more millennials getting into business, or what we call legacy transfers, where an owner like Sherry maybe passes on the business to a son or daughter. And how do we help fund those people? So maybe they're great potential owners to be Alphagraphics owners, but maybe they don't have quite the funding pathway. So how do we create funding pathways for millennials?
That's awesome. Yes, that is the number one challenge that we see is the staffing and funding, because you can't grow your business if you can't get access to people to help you run it and
Yep.
affordable money to help you grow it. So Sherry, how about you? Do you have anything different than those two things, or do you want to talk about how you are tackling the challenges of staffing, or also to how you went from one location to two? I think that's a big thing. Some people think about it before they join a system, and some kind of need a nudge. They're ready to do that. So were you of the self-initiated second location, or were you nudged?
Well, actually, we have 2 territories, but just one brick and mortar
Okay.
location.
Yep.
But I will say, when we started in 85, we had 1 center. We added a second in 88 and a third in 95. So from 95 to 2002, we did run 3 standalone centers. So, and that was all by design. It was our idea to have multiple locations as we came into the business. Now I'm perfectly happy with 1 location. But there are some advantages to having multiple locations, especially expanding your territories and things of that nature. We've been fortunate. We have a really good location at this point that has allowed us to grow our sales just out of 1 brick and mortar and 2 territories.
That's great.
I know what it's like to have multiple locations, and it takes a special owner to be able to juggle those sorts of things, because now you've got 2 sets of staffs, and you've got to make sure that both of them are equally strong to run the centers independently. Back to what Bill said, I do think that staffing is one of our critical issues right now. And, we're just doing as many things as we know to do to try to locate those folks that are potential staff members for us. And I really think that we have to look at millennials and have to find a way to let them see that there are growth and career paths in our businesses that will make them want to join us. I think that's going to be one of our challenges going forward. And then I think also just embracing and staying current with our e-commerce initiatives that Alphagraphics is setting forth. So I think that's going to be a top priority for our centers, so that we'll continue to see the growth throughout our industry.
Yeah, without extra people, right?
Yes, without extra.
And so Sherry, what do you think are the skill sets, or the type, who's the right type of person to come in to Alphagraphics to run the business? Do you think it's important for them to be active in the community, or what are the things you think that are need to have, where coming into it will really just set you up for success?
And you're talking about a new franchisee?
Yes.
Someone who's willing to put in hard work, because this is a hard business. It's deadline oriented. It's we needed it yesterday. We produce so many different products and services that there's just a lot to learn. So it's someone who is really gung-ho on learning, someone who wants to have their own business and who wants to see the fruits of their labor grow from some centers start from ground zero, some buy an existing center, either an AG center or an independent, and they'll convert. So someone who wants to take advantage of what Alphagraphics has put together as far as the structure of the franchise, and then who wants to just grow it. We have a phenomenal network of owners that are always willing to help new owners come on board. So you have that behind a new owner, and they just need to get in, learn the systems, do things the way Alphagraphics say to do them, and then just put in the effort to grow their center.
Yeah. And then, so Bill, I'll go to you. What is your team looking for? How do you look for the right fit for Alphagraphics and make sure that you guys are the right fit for them?
Yeah, I mean, just some of the things Sherry said. I mean, the people skills, being involved in the community, following proven model, like she said. And certainly the first year or two is hard. We don't sugarcoat things. We want people to go into this eyes wide open as we go through the due diligence process. But I think most important for my team is having the right cultural alignment. We take a lot of pride in treating the process and our relationship like a marriage. And if you're not culturally aligned between franchisee and headquarters, it's very hard to have a mutually long-term successful partnership. It's very hard to get through things like the pandemic if you're not culturally aligned. So we focus on that quite a bit before people join the Alpha family. And like Sherry said, once you're in, don't try to change a 51, 52-year-old proven model. There will be things that are different between Texas and Colorado and New Hampshire, but first, get your legs under you, understand the system, start making, and then maybe adapt to your particular marketplace. And I'm sure Sherry's done that over her successful career.
Great advice. We always tell them that. You bought into a system, follow the system.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So how about we'll wrap this up with, what is your advice for someone that's looking to get into franchising, whether it's with you guys or someone else? Sherry, what advice would you give someone that is in that discovery process of, is Alphagraphics or is franchising the right fit for me?
So I would tell them to do their due diligence, look at a lot of different franchises in a lot of different industries, and narrow down. Once you narrow down that print and marketing is what you think you want to do, then I would reach out to Bill and his team. I would find out, I'd get them to tell me more about Alphagraphics, because if you like, fast paced, 2 days never the same, with the ability to make a good income, if that motivates you, then you may be just the person that Bill's looking for.
And Bill, how about you? What would you give for advice to someone that's thinking about making this leap?
Yeah, I mean, similar things. Do your due diligence, talk to a lot of owners within the system, because they tend to be very candid. So, do your homework, listen to the good, bad, and the ugly. It's not going to always be pretty. I mean, I know Sherry knows that, because we want them to go into this eyes wide open. And I think at the end of the day, right now, we all know there's a lot of intrepidation, right? So people are maybe nervous about leaving their corporate job, or how are they going to fund their business, or is their spouse on board? And that's normal. But I think if you do your due diligence and try and find the right fit, then a lot of that fear goes away, because you know that you're not alone. You know that you're supported by the franchisor.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. So what we kind of see in our data is exactly that, is that it's not a linear relationship. You don't just stay completely happy with your franchise owner, or I'm sorry, with your franchise corporate team as a franchise owner. So it is that exactly that relationship. Asking if they have an advisory council like you guys have is one way that you're showing that you're listening to the franchisees, that you want to understand what's happening in the market so that you can understand when you need to pivot. I know we're over that word, but that's the nature of a franchise system, is you have this kind of global look of what's happening, and you have that ability to continue serving your customers, your existing customers, or ways to find those new ones. So I think that's great. And then talking to franchise owners like Sherry, what are you doing every day? Like, what does your day-to-day look like? And I love that you said no 2 days are the same. That speaks to me here at FBR, where it's just, you never know what it's going to be. You're just serving your customers and taking care of your team. And that's what gets a lot of people going. So.
And I just want to add, Michelle, that FBR, I've been in this a long time, as you mentioned, and Franchise Business Review is by far the best tool to get that data, to have transparency, and then act on it. So franchisee and the franchisor to be able to act on it to continue to improve the system.
Absolutely. Totally agree. I thank you both so much for talking with us today about Alphagraphics. This was wonderful.
Thank you so much. Thanks,
you.
Sherry.
Thank you.